before we start with the program, just a couple of technical technical tips. We should have the slide in a second. Probably you have been familiar, you have been participating in Zoom meetings. Who has not this time of these days, right? These days in time, it's a Zoom meeting after the other. But let's make sure we use the chat for comments and questions as the presentation go on. In case you have technical issues, you can't hear or you can't see the screen, let us know in the chat. Most of the time, closing the program and restarting solves the problem. We have to let you know that this meeting is being recorded, so we'll use it for playback and we'll share with people that register and could not attend. And by default, let's try to keep our microphone off, so we minimize background noise and we improve the quality of the call. And we'll ask you to open your mic when we'll go into Q&A later. I think that's it for me. So I think we hand over to Jan at this point, and I'll be sitting and working in the background. Thank you.
Thanks, Pierre. And Bula Vinaka, welcome everyone to our webinar. I'll just give you a brief overview of the agenda. So first, we're going to have a warm welcome from Lavinia. Then I'll just give a quick refresher on the Oppo Approach and the manual. Then we're going to have our 3 panelists giving short presentations, and this will be followed by a Q&A session. And then Ilya of PIFON will talk about the CTA PIFON Agricultural Value Chain Guide, and Sakyusa from IFAD will do the closing. So I'll hand over the microphone to Lavinia.
Thank you, Jana. Bula, welcome everybody to our webinar tonight, our Optimizing the Performance of Producer Organizations for Value Chain Development, or otherwise in short, known as Oppo. Basically, for background, in the Pacific, farming systems in the Pacific is essentially smallholder based. So apart from land, the labor is supplied by normally the farm household itself, or what we now know as family farming. In a project partnering with CTA, we realized that we needed to fill the gap for value chain technical specialists in the Pacific. We had a publication that we had worked with them called Agricultural Value Chain Guide. In the Pacific, we had conducted value chain analysis trainings with our farmer organization members. But under this program with CTA, we had the opportunity to review this training with a lessons learned, one being the gap of to look for value chain specialists. So with CTA, we were instrumental to ensure farmer organizations was central to this plan, to identify potential people in the target countries that this program was being rolled out. And we also worked with ministries of agriculture to endorse and identify candidates who then was sent to be trained in this Oppo tools. For PIFON, we worked with CTA right to the end of the project to see that the trainers returned, where we then hosted a regional event last year to endorse and support this Oppo tools and to put it into action for us here in the Pacific context. We learned from this the value of partnerships with CTA, with PIPSO, of course with our funding partner IFAD, and including our farmer organization members who participated in this opportunity. So I believe this has laid the foundation of where we will begin our webinar tonight. And I want to welcome everybody. And here in Fiji, it's good evening, everyone. Vinaka.
Vinaka, thank you, Lavinia, for this really warm welcome. And I will take everybody through quickly through the Oppo Approach and the manual for those who are not familiar with it. And also the panel members will later explain to you how the Oppo has been implemented and upscaled in the Pacific, as well as what are the future plans. So what is the Oppo Approach? The aim of Oppo is to build the capacity of farmers, fishers, their organizations, as well as SMEs by equipping them with the tools, the knowledge, and the skills to professionalize and improve their performance. So what distinguishes Oppo actually from other value chain development approaches? First of all, Oppo looks at the farmers as entrepreneurs, and they should not be treated as beneficiaries or target groups. Also, through the tools, they have the ownership right from the beginning. And also it's using really practical cases while working on the tools. So that makes it more relevant for the situation. And also value chain and agribusiness development should be organized as a team sport, like rugby, for example, and farmers and their organizations collaborate with a range of players. And also external financial support should be aligned to farmers' own plans and their own resources. And this is important for the ownership and the sustainability. So through a collaboration and implementation with the Wageningen Center for Development Innovation, PIFON, and several farmer leaders around the Pacific, we have developed a Pacific-specific manual and workbook. So this has emerged from a really wide range of tools, and they have been tested in the Pacific. And I will just ask Pierre to put up the polling. So have you actually downloaded the Oppo manual and workbook already? Just to get an idea how many of you are actually familiar with it.
Yeah, we got about 50% of votes. Let's give it a few more seconds.
Yes.
Maybe we try to get to 70%. So there is no judgment, if you have not downloaded it, don't worry. So we're going to close the poll, Jana, in 3, 2, 1. The poll is now closed, and you should see the results.
So actually, most of you are familiar with it. And Pierre, can you put up the other poll, please?
Yep.
So for those who have answered with yes, do you find the format of the Oppo manual, how it is now, useful? It is split. So yes, it is user-friendly. I have a good overview of the tools and can navigate to the respective exercises in the workbook. No, I prefer the exercises to be right after each tool in the book. And if other, please specify in the chat.
I see a couple of others. So I look forward to see the comments in the chat or the specification in the chat. So if you have selected other here, please let us know. We still have a couple of people that have just joined. So we are currently running a poll as part of the intro presentation. So if you have downloaded the Oppo manual, please let us know what you think about it, about the format. Yeah, maybe a few more seconds.
Yeah.
Okay, we're closing in 3, 2, 1. And here are the results.
All right, so most of you find it user-friendly. One person does not find it user-friendly. Maybe if you want, you can explain it later or in the chat. And also for the other, please, Pierre, can you read what has been specified in the chat?
We don't have comments yet.
Okay, well,
there is no specification yet, but please
be
share.
critical and please share it with us so it can be improved. So that's the whole purpose of this. Okay, So now I'll move quickly on to the Oppo Approach itself. So the Oppo Approach is in a sort of circle. So if you want to have a full case overview, you start with the case description and baseline. Then you move on to profiling of farmers and looking at farmers' resources. Then assessing the governance, management, and performance of a farmers' organization. Then you're going to move to the value chain mapping and the stakeholder mapping. And in the end, you look at strategic orientations. So how does that actually look in a practical way? So as it has been applied by the Pacific Oppo champions, it's really starting from the farmer, the 3 Ps, the place, product, and people. So you're really gonna go into conversation with the farmer, or if you're a farmer yourself, you're really gonna look at your data and collect as many data as possible. Then you will look at the broader network, so make profiles of all the farmers that are around, and this can also be used for advocating and lobbying. And also going deeper, creating a farmer life history. What is actually the story behind each farmer? And this is also a powerful tool to really communicate to the outside, hey, these are the farmers and this is their story. Then you will do the capital pentagon. So there are several capitals that are evaluated from human to natural, physical, financial, and social capital. And this is all done together with other producers, ideally. Then on the 4th tool, you will be assessing and improving the governance, management, and performance according to 16 different dimensions. And this can be also done within the farmer organization. So members can actually vote, and from there on, other planning can be done. For the value chain mapping, this is also done together, ideally with the stakeholder mapping, to get an overview of all the actors and to improve the linkages as well as the market segments. And in the end, if you have gone through the whole cycle, ideally you will see at the intervention areas and come up with a vision to go forward. This is just quickly. And Pierre, can you please put up the poll? Also, there are 3 additional tools featured. So collective action, what farmers organizations can do together, the business model canvas, and principles for inclusive business. So assessing buyer-seller relations. And I would like to ask you, for your current situation now, which tool is currently most relevant for you?
Well, we get the vote, Jana, just to let you know that we're running a few minutes behind, so we should move right after the poll to the next
Yes.
segment. So which of the output tools would you see most relevant to your situation? There are several choices, so it might take a while to read through.
Yeah.
So we're giving you a few seconds. Yeah. Yeah, it's a bit of reading here, but I see votes are coming in.
Yes.
So that's great. Let's give it maybe 5 more seconds. We get to 50% of the votes.
Yeah. Could they choose more than one, or is it just one option?
I think it's only one. We want to have.
If you have more tools, maybe you can also specify in the chat otherwise.
Yeah. But let's close this poll, Jan, and then let's move on because we're running a bit behind with the program. So I'm going to end the poll now and share the results.
All right. So
anything surprising?
I don't think so. I think this is what has been confirmed already, and yeah. The panel, the panel will also tell you more about now how the tools have been applied and what lessons have been learned in applying the tools, as well as how we see the way forward. So I'd like to introduce you to our all-female expert panel members. And our first presenter is Judith Danivalu, the CEO of the Fiji Crop and Livestock Council in Fiji, talking about the Oppo tools and trainings and perspectives from the field. With more than 30 years of working experience in the government for public enterprises and public sector reforms, and the management of the Fiji ports and maritime sector, communication, marketing, consulting industry, and agricultural sector, Ju is highly skilled in management, business planning, operations management, and analytics. She has a degree in economics and management and a Master of Business Administration from the University of the Pacific. Our second panelist is Judith Ann Francis, the Senior Program Coordinator, Science and Technology Policy, and the leader of the Enough for Ag Pacific project here based in CTA. And she has overall responsibility for the project. She also wears several hats. She's the chair of the Tropical Agriculture Platform, the executive secretary of the European Forum on Agricultural Research for Development, and a member of the International Advisory Panel of the Regional Universities Forum for Capacity Building in Agriculture in Africa, and the Beka Ilri Hub. And over the years, Judith has championed science, technology, and innovation for agriculture and rural development in Africa, Caribbean, and Pacific. And she has contributed to strengthening agricultural innovation systems by building capacity inclusive of women and young professionals and engaging them in policy advocacy and resource mobilization through interdisciplinary and multi-stakeholder coalitions. Judith has also lectured at undergraduate and postgraduate level in human nutrition and conducted research to assess the nutritional value of tropical crops, including fruits, and extend the shelf life of indigenous food products. And our third panelist, Lavinia Kaumaitatoya, Senior Program Manager of the Pacific Islands Farmer Organization Network, PIFON, will talk about the Oppo vision going forward for the wider Pacific region. Lavinia is the Senior Program Manager and has of PIFON, which has members in 9 Pacific countries with approximately 79,000 members. And as Senior Program Manager, Lavinia works to operationalize the program areas that PIFON members endorse in its strategic plan too. And prior to joining PIFON, Lavinia was the CEO of the Fiji Crops and Livestock Council from her various management roles as GM Commercial with Airports Fiji Limited and Fiji Ports Corporation Limited. Lavinia holds an MBA and a BCom from the University of the South Pacific and has 15 years management experience with Air Pacific, now Fiji Airways, but is happiest as a grandmother and mother to her 3 children, a smallholder farmer and a proud co-owner of Farmerly Gardens, a 16-acre farm in Votualevu Nadi. Her practical experience of farming are what she uses to advocate for issues. Lavinia is a recipient of the 2017 Stars of Oceania Awards, highlighting her pioneering work with women in agriculture for Pacific women. So I'll give the floor to Ju.
Yana, you can stop sharing your screen, so we'll get Ju to start. And please do remember to unmute yourself. Ju, if you can unmute yourself and then start sharing your presentation, please. And my video is going to transform into a countdown. So you'll have the countdown. You should be calling up the presentation, Ju, from the slides, sorry, not the PowerPoint, yeah. No, just click on the PowerPoint so we see the PowerPoint, please. Yes, and then you can go full screen. Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jana, for the introduction. I believe most of the participants tonight, they know who I am. Firstly, I'll just go straight into what I will cover based on the practical experience of implementing the Oppo approach. And thanks to CTA and PIFON for selecting me to undertake this. And I can share the advantage because for Oppo to be successful, it has to be driven from the top. It is difficult to drive from the bottom. It's not a bottom up, it's more a top down approach that I would recommend. I would cover briefly the Fiji Crop Livestock Council, the Oppo tools and trainings, the Oppo approach, the funding support for 1 year, and lessons learned, and the recommended way forward. Briefly, Fiji Crop Livestock Council as to date, as you know that our role is to strengthen, to restructure the non-sugar sector. And to date, we have registered legally 14 farmer organizations, and latest requests that were coming in this month is to form the Fiji honey producers and queen bee, and most of them are women farmers. Our total farmers registered is 28,000. The updated profile is 1,081. This is the outcome of farmer profiling. That is part of the Oppo approach that we need to understand, or you have to feel the skin of the farmers. You have to know who your farmers are, what are their issues, and you need to address their issues. It's more a needs-based approach as part of the Oppo. The Oppo tools and trainings, the perspectives from the field, that is what I will be talking about. The number of conference and training workshops held between March 2019 and March 2020 is 19. This is after I came back from Netherlands. Number of participants is more than 600. The Oppo approach, what we have done is, I fully agreed with the Oppo approach because I implemented and it is successfully implemented. You have to use 2 levels. One is the multi-level analysis. It's more to do with macro. You have to raise awareness, develop proper framework. You have to involve all stakeholders from government, donors, the implementing agencies, the buyers, the agri-food processors, and our farmers and farm organizations. Then the second approach is the in-depth analysis where you have to zoom on your farmers and farm organizations, the subsectors and value chain and market system stakeholders. I won't elaborate on that. The multi-level approach, the main objective is to raise awareness, develop a proper framework, and I think the objective is to obtain sense of ownership at all levels. And I can share the success lessons learned from here because without raising awareness, it's hard to drive it. And you need government to own it, especially your line ministry, which is the Ministry of Agriculture, and also the donors. When you ask for assistance and support, you have to give them clear directives or clear plan on what you want to achieve in terms of objectives and what are the key deliverables. And the Oppo tools we used at that multi-level platform by engaging government and stakeholders, we invite all these, the Ministry of Agriculture, that means the permanent secretaries, biosecurity, the Fiji Development Bank, the diplomats, the donors and implementing agencies. Awareness is to be done at that level. That is the first thing you have to do. And then we introduce the value chain analysis and market development. When we invite them, we also ask them what do they have in place in terms of the services that they will provide to the farmers, whether they are supporter or whether they are enablers, or they are actors. If they are actors, they also have to share what is their role in the value chain. And then we do diagnosis of the external environment by sorting out the drivers and trends. That is a macro perspective. And also we're more raising awareness and also teach our farm organizations on how to assess their performance. This is referring to the collective actions of farm organizations. And as you can see, the Oppo Approach, they clearly outlined the 6 intervention areas. These are all to be assessed at when you use the GMP.
Sergio, Pierre, if you could wrap up in the next 30 seconds, please, because we need to move on. Thank you.
I'll just show you some pictures. I was talking about this multi-level approach. This was in March 2019, and you can see the stakeholders that were involved. And then the in-depth analysis, those are the tools that we use: profiling farmers, assessing farmers' endowment using the capital pentagon, value chain mapping, stakeholder mapping, and farm organization level. I use those 4 approach. You can ask me later. And this is one of the in-depth looking at farm organizations where we involve the developer of the cigar box, and thanks to CTA for bringing him down to Fiji, but we have to send him back because of the COVID-19. And this is at farmer level where we involve the farmers to do the resource endowment and also to do value chain mapping, stakeholder mapping, and looking at the requirements of the markets. Oppo Funding, if you can see, we spent $183,458, and this is the funding source. Fiji government, you can see CTA Netherlands, PIFON, and SPC PRAS. So it's not cheap to implement Oppo. Lessons learned, government and stakeholder support is extremely important. We cannot implement Oppo if farm organizations are not structured well. It needs to be legally structured and have proper governance framework in place. And then you can select the Oppo tools. Avoid using a one-size-fits-all. It doesn't work. And Oppo provides a more holistic helicopter view of things to be able to assess issues and also tailor-make the solutions that addresses farmers and farmer organization needs. The way forward, government and donor implementing agencies should prioritize and support the implementation of Oppo. Sustainability is important here. Use Oppo tool for analysis. It's a meal process for farm and farm organizations. Lessons we learn, we can share it with our Pacific Island countries. It's more collective regional approach and not country approach. That is how we can effectively, more cost-effective approach in implementing Oppo. For context, if you need assistance, you can call us on those numbers and email. Thank you, and Vinakavale.
Thank you very much, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
You ran a bit longer, but Lavinia was so kind to give you 2 of her 5 minutes. So you borrowed 2 minutes from Lavinia. Shall we move on to the next one swiftly,
Yes.
while I reset my timer?
All right. Judith, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Bula. Good evening, and for those of us who are in the Netherlands, good morning. It's really a pleasure to have this opportunity, and we will be very quick. So I also gave up one of my minutes to Ju. So Lavinia introduced the project, and we cover 7 countries. And our goal is to strengthen the capacity of the Pacific Island governments, farmers, and private sector organizations so that they can develop strategies and programs, as well as mobilizing financing. So what you would see from Ju's presentation is that we stuck to our goal. And how did we go about doing this? So what did we do? So we mentioned the 7 farm leaders, the key experts who were identified through collaboration with PIFON. the ministries of agriculture. But not only did we identify the best program that we thought would benefit the Pacific region, and the Netherlands is one of the super, if you want to call them, superheroes in terms of innovation in agriculture, strong cooperatives, farmer organizations, strong value chain development in terms of linkages between government and the private sector and the farmers organizations. But then we were not satisfied with only getting the key experts training, but we wanted to also make sure that the training was embedded in their organizations. So we were building capacity at the individual level, and then using the individuals to build capacity within their organizations. And then we use the collaboration between the individuals, the organizations, to advocate for institutional change, policy change. And this is why I think coming so soon after Drew's presentation is very instrumental. So we link the individuals to the organizations, to the institutional change. And our focus remained on upgrading local food crops and fisheries value chains. So one of the key messages in terms of this scaling up and scaling out. So we went from farmers, farmer leaders, key experts in the ministries, to the organizations, to the institutions, is that we value the role of the farmers and the experts as game changers. But they needed technical backstopping. So you have exposure to an approach, but it's only when you actually practice with the tools, then you begin to understand them better. And then, as Lavinia mentioned, now we had the cross-learning. So the individuals in their own context applied the tools, and then we brought them back together in Fiji, so that they learn from each other, they exchange their experience. So we talk about the experiential sharing and the financial support. And Drew's budget is astounding, but I'm really happy that you saw where the government of Fiji also pitched in to support the, so we were talking about context-specific blended learning, and as part of the capacity for innovation. Then you see how the empowered farmers helped us to scale up and scale out at local, national, and regional level. And they also developed their own business models for taking their institutions, their organizations forward. And we have a few good examples of that. Yana talked about the manual. So we use the lessons from their experience and also from today to fine tune our manual, so that we leave a resource base that they have already piloted, practiced, implemented, and moving forward. And I think I only have 1 second left. And please read our Oppo case study on the lessons learned to advocate for change. So I thank the farmers, the key experts, PIFON, and all the partners who worked with us. It was not a journey, CTA by itself, CTA IFA by ourselves, but it was working with the Pacific community to build capacity for innovation and change. Thank you.
Thank you, Judith. Got Lavinia next, right? Lavinia, if you could start sharing your screen. We're giving you 4 minutes. I think you're on mute, Lavinia. I cannot hear you. I can see your screen, but I cannot hear you. You should unmute yourself, please. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So really my session is on the way forward. First of all, I want to acknowledge one of our Oppo champions. She's on the webinar. Hello, Joanne. Nice to have you on. Would have been nice if we had a, okay, how do I go back? Anyway, my slide before this was basically saying that for us in PIFON, we really emphasize our farmers and our farmer organizations. They're really at the center of the decision making, and the Oppo tools is helping them to do that. The various facets of the Oppo tool will help them, and it'll help them to, one, make better informed decisions, determine their direction and future. They're able to map themselves and basically chart a way forward for them, sustainability. And how do we do this? In the network, for us, we're about sharing information. That's what we do. We do publications, we share information, we share lessons learned. We also encourage our members to do farmer-to-farmer exchanges, farm organization to farm organization changes. So with us having some of our members who are Oppo champions, we will basically use them as consultants, and we will use them within the network and also within the Pacific, the greater Pacific, to go out and to be able to carry out using the Oppo tools to help farmer organizations, SMEs, agribusinesses in the various countries in the Pacific to basically take a snapshot of where they are and look at the performance of how they are doing today, and then to use the tools to strategically optimize their performance. That's the idea, because at the end of the day, it's about putting more money in the pockets of our members. We have an agriculture value chain guide for Pacific Islands. I know Ilya will talk about it later, but again, out of this project, the partnership that we developed with CTA had allowed us to use the Oppo tools and the Oppo lessons to include it in our recent publication under Chapter 7. So we can use the tools that we have now, the VC guide, the Oppo tool manual, and plus our Oppo champions, who are now value chain specialists, plus Oppo tool specialists, to be able to use them. We have also included them into our consultant register. We do a lot of work with our partners, and when we need to, we direct our partners to use our people, our own people, and we're managing to do that with some of our champions. We also will continue to work with the public sector and other partners. We would like to really work with governments, work with the ministries of agriculture to push this tool out. It is our intention that really begin to strongly roll out our value chain training plus the Oppo tools in our membership, and then for our membership to then work nationally at the national level with their ministries as well. We also hope to stretch out not only in the 9 countries that PIFON is at, but working with our partners to work in the other countries around the Pacific. And basically that's the way going forward for us. It doesn't seem like a lot, but trust me, it's a lot of work when you have 23 countries in the Pacific, and right now PIFON only has a membership of 9. We have another 5 countries that are knocking on our door. So we have this opportunity today to be able to use this tool, use the knowledge that we've harnessed, the learnings that we've learned to ensure that we work with the other farm organizations in the other countries around the Pacific to be able to optimize, so that at the end of the day, we are optimizing yield and profits for our farmers and their farm organizations.
Thank you very much, panelists. And now we are opening the floor to questions. We already have 3 questions, so I would like to invite Simone first. Please unmute your mic and tell us your question. This was for Ju.
Thanks, Shanna. It was just a quick question about the Fiji Angona Farmers Association. So I'm involved with Angona farming in Danivalu, and I was just, is that the same organization as what's known as the Fiji National Angona Association, or they're 2 separate organizations? And what's their kind of mandate, or what do they do for Angona farmers?
Ju,
I think
please, you need to unmute.
mute.
Okay. The farmer organizations, the one that we registered, is registered under the Labor Act. The Fiji national one is more to do with the Ministry of Agriculture. It was formed before we came in. It was a task force. And there are 2 different associations. So the Fiji Angona Farmers is a different association. That's the one that we legally registered, and we are registering the members, which is about more than 10,000 so far in our farmers database.
And do they regularly have meetings, or like what is it that they do?
They have,
I guess, as being a voice.
Yes, they have office bearers. They have a president, vice president, the treasurer, the secretary, and they have committee members. They have a rep that sits in the council, the 14-member council. The president sits in the council, and he's the one who's bringing in issues from the farmers, from the farm organizations that we do table in the Agriculture Facilitation Committee of Government that is chaired by the PS of Agriculture, and members are permanent secretaries.
Thanks, Ju.
Thanks, Simona. Thanks, Ju. And we had another question from Libby earlier. So please, Libby, if you can unmute your mic and tell us your question.
Hi, Ju. This question is for Ju, actually. It's with regards to being part of the, can the Fiji Queen join Fiji Livestock and
okay, Libby, I sent you an email. You can hear me?
I didn't get it, actually. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, my recommendation is that you can join the Fiji spice growers. Mostly are women who are planting vanilla farmers, or you can join the Fiji honey producer and queen bee, which we are going to form soon.
Can we, our association join? Can the Fiji Queen Organic Association join you guys? Because it's to do with organics.
Okay. We can assist, but there's an issue there. We, at this stage, because if you're talking about organics, what are the mechanisms in place that ensures that in terms of compliance?
We actually come under PORTCOM.
And I believe PORTCOM.
Yes, we come under PORTCOM.
PORTCOM is not recognized internationally. If I compare it to Union Control of Singapore, where you can penetrate the US market, the European markets, that is something that we need to address.
Yeah, no, we're actually looking at third-party audits as well, taking up ACO for that, for export. But at the moment, we come under, at the moment, we come under Fiji Queen. Well, I'm part of Fiji Queen, and it's PGS.com, but we're looking at taking on third-party certification, and
Thanks,
ACO
Libby.
seems to be.
Pierre here, sorry to interrupt. I think maybe this is a conversation can continue offline and bilaterally.
All right, sure.
We should allow other people to ask questions and
thank you.
Specific around the Oppo and what we have heard from our presenters. But yeah, it's good to see a connection that can be brought forward offline after the meeting. Sorry, Jan, over to you again. I understand we had some more questions lined up,
yes.
right?
So there was one more question that was already lined up. So it is I guess for the whole panel, how to assess the demand and secure a market, how to get access to good farmland using the Oppo tools.
Jana, that question.
Yeah, I think Drew should answer.
Looks like everybody's asking me questions. I would be surprised that question came from Savi. Am I right? Okay.
No, actually no.
Okay. FCLC is not, we are not extension officers, but we also play an important role in engaging agriculture advisory support services from the private sector to complement the extension services of the Ministry of Agriculture. Talking about, correct me if I'm wrong, Anna, this is to do with soil testing, am I right?
No, it is more like how to get access to farmland.
Sorry, let me interrupt there because maybe I heard the question differently. How can we use the upper tools? And there are some tools in terms of the resources, the profiling the farmers so you understand what their needs are. And so I would prefer you to use the experience from applying the tools because you did highlight that, yeah?
Okay, yeah. We use the capital pentagon. Farmers will come and tell us something, but we do assessment using the capital pentagon of assessing the 5 capital. And then you will see what is lacking. Is it the natural resources? And if it's natural resources, it's land. And then we'll take it from there. That is how we use the Oppo tool.
Thanks, Drew. Are there any other questions from someone we haven't heard yet? Simon, I know you have another question, but maybe there's someone else who has another question first. Please unmute your mic now. Just give a few seconds. I don't see anyone yet, so Simon, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. No, it was awesome to actually have a read through. I've been quite busy, so I didn't actually got to have a read through it today. I guess from a farmer's perspective, it's probably a manual more tailored towards people like who are on the call with their organizations that then help out farmers. So this manual is probably more so to guide them. But and I think in terms of what's happening in Fiji and stuff, it's awesome because I guess from my first experience with Ministry of Agriculture, which was based in Saba, was I had to get some lending through FDB when I first started out. So the farm plan, which didn't essentially that came, the front cover changes the name to myself, my address. You go to the second, third page, it's got another farmer's details and information about their farm. So yeah, having this is an awesome thing to kind of go through. But one thing I think, I'm not sure if anyone from any of the other farming organizations are doing or have it to be done, was from a health and safety perspective with farming. And so I guess because I spent a bit of time in New Zealand, between New Zealand and Fiji, and health and safety is a far more important aspect, I guess, in the farming industry than it is in Fiji. And so I guess one of my fears being on the farm is in Vanuatu is, when I'm not there, I'll get updates through Messenger and so forth, and they'll take pictures of the work that's being done. But let's say one of the main risks I see is around the use of chainsaws. The boys will be bare feet, milling timber, cutting trees down, because that's just the way that they do things. But I guess for people that are wanting to start out farming or take their farming family farms to the next level is kind of putting that health and safety and risk assessment stuff in place. And so having, things around chainsaws, around, let's say if they've got ATVs, what happens if they cut themselves? For example, I cut myself last year, needed to go get stitches. If I'd had some kind of manual, which I feel I need to put in place, I wouldn't have put the traditional Fijian medicine on, which when I then went to the hospital was told that's the worst thing to do because then you can get an infection, although it stops the blood. But I guess, back to the question, is there anyone or organizations that's kind of working with farmers to help around the health and safety and risk?
I can answer that. From Fiji Crop Livestock Council, there's a real need that we have identified, and we are working with the Ministry of Agriculture. It's not only the Ministry of Agriculture, it's also the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of, probably the Ministry of Health, that we need to look into that. You're giving a good example because of the chainsaw. They need to be trained on how to use the chainsaw. It's not something you just go and buy and use. And that is just an example. And also in terms of safety of health, this leptospirosis, that is a health problem. And most of our livestock farmers, I think the cause of death in Fiji, it's not only the NCDs, but it is also and COVID-19. Leptospirosis is really high compared to COVID-19. And that is something that we need to work and train our farmers to be aware and take precautionary measures. And we need to not only to train them, but put something in black and white that they can refer to.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Drew.
Yeah, I guess the reason I brought the question
also wanted
up,
to answer.
I was just going to quickly say the reason I picked it up was when I was going through, and you can see an appendix, it's quite easy to kind of use this as a bit of a template. And so if there was something from that health and safety risk, it would be perfect for farmers to implement.
Yeah, thanks. Simon, I just wanted to add to that. Post-COVID, there has been procedures put in place for safety, and which we've pushed out to our farm organizations. It's pretty new, and it's something that we've worked with our partners IFAD on. And I understand you're in. Are you in Samoa? Or are you in, where are you calling us from, Simone?
Simone, could you hear Lavinia's question?
Sorry, I just missed the back of it. What was the question again, Lavinia?
Sorry, I'm just asking, where are you calling us from? Are you here in Fiji?
I'm calling from Wellington, but I'm in Fiji. I'm in Fiji every month if it wasn't for COVID.
Okay, so then maybe we can link
I split my
you up
time,
with
half my
one
time's
of
in
our...
Honolulu and the other half's in Wellington, New Zealand.
Yeah, so then maybe we can link you up with, like Chu said, with the Fiji Yangona Association. And also there's a couple of, there's I think 2 other farmer organizations informally, but they're set up in Vanuatu as well. And you can work through them, and then that's how we reach out to you as well. But we work through our farm organizations down to the farmers.
All right. Thank you for this. And we can take one last question. Okay, there's no more questions, so I'll give the floor to Ilya. Ilya, are you there?
Coming.
Yeah,
Hi, everyone. So just a little over a year ago, we got together with CTA, ACP, EU, EFED, and Party 2 to update the agricultural value chain guide for the Pacific Islands. It was done under the direction of Dr. Andrew McGregor, and contributions were also made from Levi Tora, one of our passionate value chain trainers, as well as many farmers and exporters and traders from around the region. In his opening remarks in the foreword, Jana, you could just go to the next slide. CTA's director, Michael Hailu, mentioned the agriculture sector is rapidly evolving, and so it's creating, all these amazing opportunities for producer organizations and agribusinesses. And so this updated version of the agricultural guide is very timely, and it features successful case studies, the lessons learned, including the Oppo Approach tools. You can go on to the next slide, Jana. Yep. And so tonight, we're excited to give away 2 copies of the guide. I'm gonna just go on camera just to show you here in my hand the book. Very excited. And so what we've done is many of you have registered for tonight's webinar. We've practically just got everyone's numbers in this specific blue goblet. I'm just gonna pick 2 numbers at random, and then we're gonna swing back to Jana, who's going to reveal the names of who gets a copy of this book. So here we go. I'm just doing a swirl here. I'm gonna just pick a random number. So the first one is 17, and the next one is 13. So 17 and 13. Jana, do we have matching names for those?
Yes, we do. So the number 13 is Ali Ferretti, and number 17 is Sam Loana Kadavu. I'm not sure if he's here.
Awesome. Yeah, so we have their contact addresses, and then maybe you can mail them to me, and we'll be in the process of sending these across to the winners.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thanks for this, Ilya. And we hope everybody enjoyed the session. We have to wrap up, but if you have any more questions, and especially also feedback on the tools and implemented them, or if you want to get in touch with anyone, please let us know, and we will continue our discussion also on the D group. And I would like to let the floor now to Sakyusa from IFAT to give the closing remarks.
Thank you, Jana, Sambula Binaka, and greetings again from the Pacific. First of all, I would like to thank CTA, PIFON, and also FSLC for their participation this afternoon, and for their well-articulated views that has been provided to us. Also would like to thank those that are participating through this webinar, and we hope that you have learned quite a lot from this webinar. IFAD is a financing agency, and we are financing the project through CTA and also PIFON, one of our partners in the Pacific. IFAD's mandate is investing in rural people, And we are pleased that these tools will be operationalized by our farmers in the Pacific. I recall last year, we had a meeting in Nandi, and we were quite pleased with the outcome, and to see lots of people coming to that meeting. And we have seen throughout the last few months, some of them have displayed their skills in going around to some of the islands and sharing this information, particularly Oppo tools. I want to mention one staff from Kiribati, Rotan. I've been seeing his Facebook post on what he has been doing. But to this session, we have learned quite a lot, and just some of the things that I put down, and I'd like to thank Chiu again, and of course Judith, who has been very instrumental in this project and providing with her team a lot of tools that we hope that we will continue when the project is coming to an end. And of course, Lavinia, our partner through PIFON, we have put down a few things for us, and I just note down some of the things that they have shared. I think, firstly, it's not a value of partnership. I think that's very important. There's a lot of partnership in this partnership. Farmers with organization, private sector, the whole value chain. There has to be some form of partnership. And of course, has been highlighted by Chiu, the support of government is very critical in ensuring that we have their buy-in and their involvement in this project. Of course, Judith highlighted the importance of farmers, and of course, farmer leaders as the game changers. But of course, they need to be provided with another technical and financial support. And of course, from PIFON, Lavinia highlighted the importance of farm organizations as they are the central and key players in this operation. So I think going forward, we want to see that Oppo is being operationalized and implemented in the countries. And from IFAD, we will provide all our support to ensure that we see that these tools disseminated and to reach a wider audience of farmers in the Pacific. And lastly, I would like to thank CTA again for organizing this, and with other partners. The project is coming to an end, but they have left behind quite a lot of things for the Pacific. And from IFAD side, we would want to maintain this. We are organizing another meeting, I think next few weeks time. So we want to see this to be operationalized and to be implemented in the Pacific. So thank you once again, and thank you very much for your participation.